what are your thoughts on the NHS? Just because that was all part of something. It's like, I respect a lot of your thoughts. I really appreciate your thoughts, especially on taxes, that you're not a no tax person, but you're on a fair tax person. I think that we discussed that the first interview we ever did. I'm a fan of the NHS. My mum worked for it. I don't like the US system, but it is costing 211 billion in that chart, and it is so fragmented and broken. I don't know where the money's going to be spent. I don't like
admin.
I don't like the a lot of that. Apparently, about a third of that number is depreciation as well. But I don't know the answer. But I'm sure you have ideas.
Well, I don't believe that state-funded healthcare is the best way to deliver the best possible healthcare at the lowest possible price. But even if you say state-funded healthcare is the best model, well, the French system, the Swiss system, the German system, the Dutch system, the Kiwi system, they all function better than the NHS. So they're a better state. They're a much, much better state systems than ours.
Do we know why? What are they doing different? Or is it just because we're fucking useless at everything now?
Bit of that. But I mean, I just take a much more, and the American system is like the American government spends more per capita on healthcare than we do.
I know.
And the American citizens don't even get healthcare that's free at the point of use. You know, I would rather just self-Google. Every time I get ill, I just self-Google and self-diagnose rather than have the hassle of going to the doctor. And I just know loads of people that are like me.
How many things
and
have
I'll
you
reach
done?
a certain point when I probably get into my 70s or something, there'll be a certain point where, you know, I just hate going to the doctors.
We've got a private doctors near us
Yeah.
that opened up recently, and it's £50 a visit. They'll see you the same day sometimes, at least the next day, and they are brilliant.
Well, the beauty of the problem with private healthcare is because government healthcare is in the market, it pushes up the price of private healthcare. And so if it was just purely a market-driven, you know, the friendly societies of the 19th century provided healthcare, and it worked very well at the level of the standards of the time. But you need, at the moment, the doctor under the problem with the NHS is that it's geared in favour of the supplier, not the user, and the doctor is not answerable to the patient, and that sort of customer dynamic needs to be in place where the doctor is answerable to the patient, and if the doctor delivers a bad service, then the patient can sack him. But the customer in the NHS does not have that power. The customer in the NHS has no power.
Well, you're exactly right, because I'm using this service because the NHS is so bad. You phone up for an appointment, it's 3 weeks.
Yeah.
For a doctor's appointment, you go to the A&E, it's 4 to 5 hours.
I broke my ankle playing football. So I had to have all this ankle treatment. They wanted to do an MRI of my ankle. And I went to see I call him the paedophile, but I went to see the podiatrist. So I went to see the paedophile, and he does all these things. And he said, look, it's going to cost you $5,000 to have an MRI. And if you want both your MRIs done, it's $10,000. But I can refer you to the NHS. It's not like an immediate thing that needs doing. So, you know, it'll be about a 2 or 3 month wait and just do it through the NHS. So I said, great. This was last July. I still haven't got an appointment for the MRI. And I was on the phone to them yesterday. It took me an hour to get them on the phone. And there's like, you're on a waiting list, and you'll come off the waiting list in 5 months' time, and then we'll book you an appointment, which will probably be a few months after that, for an MRI on my ankles. And I'm like, I wish I'd just played the $10,000. I
have private healthcare because we got it in my old company a few years ago. For me and the 2 kids, it's £150 a month, and this is just this is not like a flex. It's just that's the cost. It's the last thing I would get rid of. Sky Sports and Netflix and Spotify before I get rid of that because I've had to use it for my back, and I've had to use it for my son's shin splints. When my son's had shin splints, straight down to London within a couple of days, MRI scan, all done, all paid for. My back, when my back went, 3 days within a phone call, I was in and had the operation. It's the last thing I would get rid of. And I think the value for money.
But we're lucky because we can afford it. We're lucky.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot more people who could afford that who don't do it.
Maybe. But the NHS has become a political tool.
Of course.
and it's just supposed to be about healthcare. And that's the problem when things like education has become a political tool. This is why I'm a libertarian. I just think these things education should be about teaching. Healthcare should be about healthcare. No more than that. And if everything was just market driven and there was no state involvement, the actual cost would end up being a lot lower. And then you say, what about the poor and needy? What about the people who can't afford it? Well, charity is a basic human characteristic. We are all charitable. And if we are empowered by having more money in our pockets because we are taxed less, then we will become even more charitable, because there will not be that attitude, well, I've paid my taxes, it's somebody else's problem. When in a libertarian society where the government doesn't do anything, the responsibility falls on citizens to do stuff. At the moment, that responsibility is the states. So, with freedom comes responsibility. And my belief is that competition improves productivity, and just as competition in food or clothing or something has driven down so that we can all wear amazing clothes at very little cost unless we're Richard Hart, those same dynamics could exist in education and in healthcare, and if there was no state involvement, they would be a lot better and a lot cheaper.
I feel like I should become a libertarian, don't I?
I can't believe you're not a rabid libertarian, having worked in Bitcoin as long as you have.
Do you know what it is? Is that I always find myself just a bit of a centrist, but I find myself a centrist now in between left, right, and libertarians.
Yeah.
I struggle with the idea of a libertarian society working unless everyone agrees they're a libertarian. If everyone doesn't agree they're a libertarian, you would just have new powers, new structures, new abuses. But what I do think I wish would happen, I wish there was a libertarian party, just like the same size maybe as the Lib Dems, who could have a bit of power and their goal is, let's make government smaller, let's reduce tax. That's
supposed to be the Thatcherite arm of the Conservative Party, but nothing ever happens.
Well, bloody Boris Johnson came out saying he was a libertarian.
Well, exactly.
Fucking liar.
Yeah.
But if you had a libertarian party with power and their mandate was less tax, smaller government, because we have a pull from left to right, but we don't have a pull from big to small.
Yeah.
And if we had the pull from big to small, then because that left to right balance,
I think probably half the country are conservative with a small c. Generally speaking, they believe in more individual responsibility, not no tax and no government, but less government and less tax and more individual responsibility. But that's this kind of silent majority that struggles to articulate itself. It struggles to be represented in politics, and the way of government getting elected, promising this, that, and the other, it just is not articulated and not represented.
They need a better less is more.
Yeah,
mandate to run on, but maybe just all needs to implode.
I think it does.
Yeah,
the only way to solve all of this is bankruptcy. And we were talking about how fragmented and divided and everything else. I strongly believe that money is the blood of a society. It courses through everything, and if a body is to be healthy, its blood must be healthy, and if blood is poisoned, the rest of society is poisoned. And that is, fiat money is poisonous. And it courses through our society. And, I said patient zero. I honestly believe if we can clean up the blood, we clean up the money system, then everything else, like your deficits and everything else, because once you have independent money, governments can't run up deficits. They just can't, because the market won't allow them. They run it up a little bit and then they'll go bust. But when they've got the power to print, that doesn't happen. So if we fix money, we get that blood pure again and healthy, then we'll be all right. But we might have to go through a lot of pain before we get there.